Hi everyone. This video is a book review, my very first book review for 2025. I wanted to select a book to start off the year with to make myself motivated and to also make you motivated as well. And the title of this book is Essential Zen Habits: Mastering the Art of Change Briefly. And it was written by Leo Babauta. I don't know if it's Babauta or Babauta. His last name is spelled Babauta, if you can see it. I have had this book. I don't know if I've had it for a year or if I've had it for several months. I don't know where I got it from. I don't know if I found it, if it was given to me, if I found it in a little free library box. I honestly don't know where this book came from. But I know I wanted to start off the year with a read that wasn't too taxing on my mind mentally. I also wanted something to motivate me, to keep me encouraged as I'm trying to implement new habits in my life and change some things in my life and stay on track with certain goals that I have. And this book was a good fit. It is not a long read. It is only, 128 pages. So if you are a person that likes to just go through a book really fast and not have to read something the size of a boulder, I think that this would be a good start for a new year. But before I get into this book, let me tell you a little bit about the author, Leo. We're just going to call him Leo. So, Leo has a very interesting website. He has lots of pictures. He has links to his social media pages. I really like it because sometimes I'll be looking or I'll be attempting to look up something about an author and I cannot find it anywhere. So he says, "My name is Leo. I live in Northern California with my wife and our 2 teenage kids. We have 4 adult kids for a total of 6, where I eat vegan food, write, run, and read. Read my story." And then he has a link to his bio. He also has more info. He has something called the Fearless Living Academy. Apply for one-on-one coaching with Leo. He has a link to more of his books and what he is doing now. He's on YouTube, podcasts, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and he has a Facebook group. So let's click on his other books. So his other books are the Fearless Purpose Training Package, The Habit Guide, Zen Habits Most Effective Habit Methods and Solutions, The Zen Habits Beginner's Guide to Mindfulness, a short read, Ultra Light, The Zen Habits Guide to Traveling Light and Living Light, a short read, Essential Zen Habits, which is the one that we have right here, and Zen to Done. So it sounds like just Zen is a theme that he's going through throughout his whole writing process, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, I may have come across Zen just in my reading of Qigong or just other religious books, but I think I might read more books on just the art of Zen and other habits and methods that you can use to implement Zen in your life. This book is not, I don't think it's that old. It doesn't have when it was published. It doesn't have a copyright because he starts off his book with the uncopyright, which I have actually never seen in a book before. I've never seen an uncopyright, and that automatically made me like this book. So this is what his uncopyright is. All ideas in this book are stolen and have no owner. This entire work is therefore uncopyrighted and in the public domain. No permission is required to copy, reprint, or otherwise gleefully rip off anything I've written. I don't believe in the right to deny the freedom of ideas. Man, when I read that, all I saw in my mind was me reprinting his book, laying it out where it's easily readable, putting him as the author, and just putting a bunch of different artwork. That's what I saw when I saw this uncopyright. So this book is dedicated to his dad, Jose Babauta, whose passion for the truth of art inspired who I am, and for my friend Scott Dinsmore, who always dreamed big. I miss you both. So as I was reading this book, I found out that his dad passed away. I don't know if it was during the writing of this book or the writing of his first book, because this is a shorter version of another book that he had. So his dad passed away during either the writing of this one or the writing of another book. And his friend, Scott, if I'm not mistaken, he passed away in a tragic accident climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. Introduction. The only reason we struggle with habit change. A lot of his chapters are rather short. It's easily readable. You can just gloss through it, and next thing you know, you're done. So, introduction, he talks about the mind movie. And what is the mind movie? The mind movie is a projector in our minds, and it's constantly playing a movie about how we'd like things to be, our ideals about the world, our expectations of how things will turn out, how others should be, and how we should be. These images aren't based on reality, but are just a fantasy this film projector has created from nothing. I believe that if you are focused on your mind movie too much, it can either literally inspire you to work harder, or it can drive you insane because it's not happening at the pace that you want it to happen. I experienced this earlier today. I recently posted a video about leaving this apartment because, once again, gun violence. I've had to leave maybe one or two apartments due to gun violence, or just people getting unalived in front of the property, or people breaking in my house. So recently I had another little bullet issue, and I have been looking for a house because in my mind movie, I feel I deserve a nice brick house, 2 stories with a garden, and I'm playing, and all my children are there when I have children, and I have an ostrich. Well, I won't have an ostrich, but like this is what's playing in my mind movie. I have a studio. I have room for people to sleep in. I have land. It doesn't have to be that much land, just a little acre of land. And I don't have to rent anymore. And this is what I am. And this is where I will live the rest of my life and pass down to my children, and they can rent it out if they want to. This is what's playing over and over and over and over in my mind. But reality is, I am here. I am in this space. It is not matching my mind movie. I want it now. I'm decluttering and thinking about this. So earlier today, my mind movie literally drove me crazy. I could not breathe. I was like, I have to get out of this apartment. I need to leave now. I was on Zillow looking at houses and acting like I had $100,000 in my pocket. Like, you know what? I would like that. I would like that. But I didn't. I've never bought a house before. So it became overwhelming And I had to leave for several hours because I couldn't breathe. I just went into panic mode and I had to leave my apartment because it felt like the walls were closing in on me and there was clutter everywhere. So that's the dark side of your mind movie. It turns out that this fantasy, which I call the mind movie, is what stands in our way of making habit changes, as well mentioned as the mind is when it creates this fantasy. It's also causing us frustration, struggle, bad feelings about ourselves, procrastination, distraction, and more. In other words, this mind movie is at the heart of all of our problems. Creating a new habit, for example, should be pretty simple. In theory, it's simply repeating an action after a trigger. Say the habit of writing after the trigger of your morning coffee. So you drink your morning coffee and then you write. Over and over until it becomes more and more automatic. If you do the action after the trigger every day for about 6 weeks, you should have a fairly automatic habit. Do it for several months and it'll be pretty ingrained in your life. If it's so simple, why do we struggle to create new habits and drop old habits? Because the mind is like a little child, constantly seeking comfort and control. The childish mind is playing the mind movie all the time about how our lives should be so comfortable and pleasurable and orderly. The mind then runs from discomfort and fear and change and confusion, which aren't at all the fantasy playing in the mind movie. Unfortunately, creating a new habit or dropping an old habit cannot be done without discomfort. Everybody has their own level of discomfort. Sometimes it means you have to go to whatever job you're at in order to make the funds to buy the things that will move you forward in life, or you have to eat certain foods to help you with the health issue that you are having, if that makes any sense. One of my main uncomfortable things is other people taking up my time and things not happening when I want them to happen. I get really impatient. And it's strange because recently we had a staff dinner and there was like 8 people saying, "Wow, Kiara is so patient. I've never seen her mad. She's so patient. How does she do it? Where does she get it from?" I don't get it from anywhere. You know what happens? I just get so frustrated and so impatient. I have to go into the core of my soul so I will not throw a table. And so if you see a blank stare, that is where I went. I'm throwing tables in a cavern in my soul. Because I'm like, I need it to happen today. I need it to happen like yesterday. I'm uncomfortable. This is not my garden. This is not my cottage. This is not my baddie body. This is not my millions of dollars. But if you do the right things in a timely manner and have patience, you can reach that. Sometimes it might not happen in the 2 months that you want it to happen. Sometimes it might take 7 years. Are you okay with that? Do you want it enough for it to happen in its season? We shall see. How I changed my life. This is what Leo's talking about. I struggled for many years with health problems, procrastination, debt, being stuck in jobs I didn't like, never pursuing my dreams, being overweight, not being able to quit smoking or junk food. I struggled with the childish mind and the mind movie and didn't realize why I was struggling. What was wrong with me? I tried many times to change all my habits, sometimes succeeding for a week or two, but always ending in failure and guilt. I'd end up just feeling worse about myself. I finally overcame the cycle of failure and guilt by completely focusing myself on one habit, quitting smoking and not letting my childish mind run away from the discomfort. It was a massive struggle, but I learned that I didn't need to listen to this childish mind. that it would raise hell, but ultimately, all the complaining was just noise. I'd learned to change habits in tiny steps gradually so that the childish mind wouldn't rebel so violently. One at a time, I changed my eating habits slowly over long periods of time. One change at a time, I was able to start running, start writing in the morning, start a business, start paying off my debt, saving and investing, and start getting rid of clutter. I became a minimalist, a published author, a vegan, a marathoner, and more, all from learning to deal with the childish mind. Now, I know this might seem overwhelming for some people. You don't have to do all of these things. Like, you don't have to be a marathoner. Maybe you just want to save $100, and that's okay. It doesn't matter how big or small your habit change is. It is your habit change. Okay? Like, not all of us are going to be vegan. Some of us are just going to have different diets. Like, maybe we want to eat more vegetables and the same amount of meat. Or maybe we want to cut out dairy and replace it with water or something. You don't have to, like, go into a certain specific diet. You don't have to be a marathon runner. Maybe you want strong bones. You have to cater this to you, because sometimes the goals we have are not our goals. It's what other people told us should be our goals, if that makes any sense. I have to go back. Gradual steps. I've mentioned this before in other videos. It's going to be called by different methods. As you read about goals and goal setting and being your best self, you're going to come across different terms, but it's essentially the same thing, the gradual steps. It could be the atomic habits. It could be the Kaizen method. It could be the eating the elephant method. So many things. Or eat the frog. I don't know if it's eat the frog or eat the elephant. It's essentially the same concept. It's just going to be repackaged and relabeled in whatever book you're reading or whatever lecture you're listening to. The reason you want to do small to start is because it accumulates over time. It's like the compound effect. Maybe you want to jog. So instead of going straight outside to jog, like, oh, I'm gonna jog, you could just put your shoes by the door and do that for 3 months just to get in the habit of putting your shoes by the door. Then you can step outside, stand on your porch for a minute, go back inside. And as this becomes less threatening, next thing you know, you're going to start running. You might run in place for a minute, then run in place for 2 minutes. Might walk down to the park. Depends on you. How this book works. I wrote a longer version of this book in 2014, but for the second edition, I decided to toss out those carefully crafted chapters with their stories and longish explanations. For this edition, I wanted no fluff, just the essentials. He recommends for you, when you read this book, to do it this way. Set aside 10 minutes every morning and read 1 chapter a day. Create 1 new habit for the next 6 weeks, not quit an old habit. Follow the weekly focuses that I set out in this book for your new habit. Read through the troubleshooting, quitting a bad habit, and life struggles section, and then wrap it up with the just do it section. Key concepts to know. There's the mind movie, which we explain. The childish mind, which is a part of our mind that fears discomfort. There is also mindfulness, groundlessness, resistance, self-compassion, and intention. So groundlessness is a concept that he says he stole from his Buddhist teacher, Pema Chodron. It describes the feeling of not having solid ground under your feet. For example, when you lose your job or a loved one dies, you feel like the rug has been pulled from under you. And this book will look at ways of dealing with dissatisfaction and groundlessness that pervades our lives. Mindfulness is turning inward and seeing the mind movie, the childish mind's resistance, the urge to quit, and feeling we're having difficulty with, and turning from the mind movie to the reality that is in front of us and finding appreciation for that reality. These were 2 things I had to deal with personally today. I was in my living room. I was trying to clean. There was stuff all over the floor as I was decluttering. I was taking pictures off of the wall. I was visualizing my mind movie of my little cottage and my house, my brick house with some land, and while simultaneously looking at Zillow, I was talking to my friend while simultaneously talking in my mind to myself, thinking, how do I buy a house? What do I do? How much do I need down payment? Do I do first home buyers? Do I need to get a loan? Maybe I should say. This was like going on in my head as I'm talking to my friend who's also panicking because she's like, I don't know how I'm going to get this practicum. They're not calling me back. I need to find a job. So she's on the other line looking at jobs on Indeed, and I'm decluttering, trying to visualize a house that I do not know how to get. And it was too overwhelming. And I was panicking. I could not breathe. And as I took my walk, I had to walk away from all of this. I had to go on groundlessness because I felt the ground was leaving me. I just needed to go somewhere with a snowstorm coming. Okay. And as I walked outside thinking, I was like, look, Kiara, you need to calm down. You are doing too much. You are doing too much too fast. You need to slow down and take your time and accept the reality that you are in. This is where it is right now, and that is okay. You made a whole video saying that you were leaving. You made a whole video saying you were leaving by March. You've taken down half of your paintings off the wall. Where are you going? How are you going to get the stuff to storage? You are panicking unnecessarily. I mean, it's not unnecessary. It's just like, it's still gun violence, okay? You need to calm down. Because the energy that you use to leave here is the energy you will take when you go wherever you're going. Do you want a panicky energy as you leave and transition out of this place? Or do you want a calm energy as you transition into your new place? What are you going to do? You manifested this situation because you were panicking, and now look at you again in panic mode. This house or this apartment called you and manifested you because it needs you to do some spiritual work on it. It's already had a dozen shootings from this building alone within the last 10 years. You need to be an alchemist and change the energy. That's why you're here. Because every tenant that has lived here before you has left in a panic. You are a powerful creator, and you should not be fazed by this reality. Like, just stop. Just calm down. Stop this craziness. Stop letting the childish mind run your life. You're more powerful than that. And then I came back home and I said, okay, I can think clearly now. So some of you might be in the same situation where you're just freaking out. And I'm not trying to criticize you or anything. I completely understand. Your diet might not be working. Your money might not be working. You're trying to do all of these habits and to yourself you're failing. You just got to calm down and keep focus on the vision at hand, because eventually you're going to get there. Just because you miss a day, just because you miss 5 days, it doesn't mean that the world is over. If you really want that goal, that is what you will get in the end. Nobody can stop you. For example, nobody can stop you from marrying the person that you want to marry if you're grown. Unless it's the law, or if you're in another country, I don't know, it might be an arranged marriage thing. But on average, half of these people will be gone in 100 years. Are you going to let them push you around and not marry the person you want to marry? Or get into the career field that you want to get into? Eventually, you're going to have to stand up for yourself and take charge of your life. Intention. When you set to do something, let's say write a book or have a conversation with someone, you can set an intention before you do that activity as a way of consciously deciding what you're hoping to do during the activity. For example, you might have the intention of compassionately helping people as you write your book. This doesn't mean you actually think things will turn out this way, but it means you're bringing the intention of helping into the activity. The intention informs your approach and how you feel and act during the activity. So part 1 is creating a habit. Step 1, how to choose a first habit. You're not going to choose a habit today to work with in this book, but we should talk about good habits to choose. The habit needs to be easy, a new habit, not quitting an old habit, and something you can do once a day. So here's some examples he gives of habits. Walk for 5 minutes, do 10 push-ups, drink tea in the morning, meditate for a few minutes, write a couple of paragraphs a day, sketch something simple, journal, eat a vegetable with lunch, find pieces of clutter to recycle and donate, drink a glass of water in the morning, and put clothes in a hamper. So how I keep track of my habits is I use little sheets. I make it once a month, but I have little forms. So if I've done it, I'll mark it in the color. If I haven't done it, I'll mark it in black. Look at all of that black in the next 4 days. But look at all of the other things that I've done. So some of the habits I want to do are reading a book every day. I've been reading more than I was in the past few months. Decluttering. I have been decluttering every single day. And so far, the more I declutter, the lighter I feel. I'm not doing all of this decluttering in one day. That's crazy. That'll drive me insane. I'm doing it a piece at a time. I'm going to each section, organizing, throwing away, and then I go back to the section again. I just keep going in a circle. I've also started creating more art. That was one habit that I struggled with last year. I've been making myself create art in order to get rid of all of these canvases. I've also been taking some of my pieces off of the wall to sell and to display. I took my Ida B. Wells piece off of the wall. I'm going to put it up for sale. That little Ida B. Wells. I'll show you before I leave. Hold on. I'm going to show you. This piece has been sitting on my wall. It's all glittery. She has sequins and everything. It's time. What are you doing in my apartment when you could be circulating? My friend has been helping me declutter because she's moving out. Well, one of my other friends. She's moving to a condo with her mother. So I've been helping her declutter and take things to the thrift store. She's been helping me take things to the thrift store. It's been working out. Sometimes you need a team effort, you know. I've been working on a painting a week. Like this one, I actually used the model is this black lady from the 18th century, but she doesn't look like her. I don't know. Like she looks like her, but she looks like a completely different person. But I've been working on it. And it's hard because painting takes a lot of energy. So I've been making myself do a little at a time. Reading for me takes a lot of energy. So I've been doing pages at a time once a week or on a daily basis. And now I've been going through my books. Bite-sized goals. Start off with something that you really would like to do, but do it in smaller increments. Quitting a habit versus starting a positive habit. Another type of habit not to choose right now is the negative habit, not doing something, like not checking social media or quitting a bad habit like smoking or shopping. We'll get these types of habits in the quitting habits section later, but for now, choose a positive action. Do 10 push-ups rather than a negative action. Don't give in to distractions. If someone can see you doing the action, that's a positive habit. The reason is that quitting old habits is a bit more complicated. Quitting requires all the same steps as starting a new habit, but also requires you to deal with the urges and resistance of quitting an old habit. What I like to do with my habits is I like to have one habit that can cover 3 different goals that I'm trying to do. So for example, one of my goals, as I've mentioned a million times, is decluttering. I've been decluttering, and part of my decluttering is getting rid of art supplies. So one way I can get rid of art supplies is creating more art, using up my supplies to create more art. But one of my other goals is to create more art. So I'm doing 2 things at the same time. I'm also decluttering my books, but one of my other goals is to read more books. So I read the books that I'm decluttering. And now I have this umbrella covering several different goals that I'm achieving at the same time. You might have a goal to eat better, but also to get fit. Maybe you could run to the grocery store and get a salad or whatever, and now you're jogging and you're getting the food that you need. Or you could meal prep, so that way you're eating the food that you desire while simultaneously working out. I don't know. Try to find goals and habits that can overlap with one another if you want to get things done at a faster pace. 2 questions before you start. Why are there 6 days in each of the weeks in the following chapter? What if I miss a day of doing the habit? So the first answer or question about why are there 6 days, he didn't want to overwhelm the reader too much. And then the second question is, what if I miss a day of doing the habit? He said that's totally normal. I highly recommend that you practice expecting imperfection. So as you see, I've missed a day or 2. You should look at my other charts. A lot of them were just blank, black, didn't do anything. And it was all scanty, like a snaggered tooth hermit or something. But I still got it done. I didn't judge myself. I'm not going to have a perfect calendar, and that's okay. I'm not perfect. If I was perfect, I'd just be boring. And then I wouldn't have any stories. Everything's like, oh, my life is so perfect. Oh, yeah, everything is organized and ironed. Oh, my money problems, what are those? This is not saying that money problems are exciting or being financially stable is exciting, but I'm just saying we're not perfect. And that is all right. We came here to learn. And if you're learning, you're not going to leave this earth in perfection or unscathed. Week 1, a slow start. So as you're reading the chapter about creating a habit, he gives you something for each day. So day 1, you pick a change. Day 2, create a vow. Day 3, make it small. Day 4, create space. Day 5, set a trigger and reminder. And day 6, start easy. If I had to give a brief synopsis of some of them, day 1, pick one change, so you basically pick your habit. Day 2, you create a vow and you consider your intention for this new habit. What are you going to do? You can make a promise to yourself. I promise that every day I will read 8 pages. I promise every day that I will not gossip. I will put on my watch. I will wake up at 8 a.m. I will go to mass or sew a button. Just anything. Day 3, make it small. You have to take your habit and break it down as small as possible. So if you are trying to save, let's say, $10,000 in a year, let's start off, or just $10,000 in general, not a year. Let's start off with trying to save $1 a week, trying to save $5 a week. Just try with the smallest amount that seems so easy, and just automate it. But before you automate it, just try just saving it by yourself, like physically put it in there. Day 4, create space. You have to set aside time for this. Set a trigger and reminder. Now the trigger would be like with your morning coffee, you can write your novel or write a sentence of your novel. You have to find something that you can connect with your habit, and then start easy for day 6. Week 2, you have to focus mindful enjoyment. You have to enjoy your habit. You have to be aware of the movie you're playing in your mind. Be grateful. Practice mindfully, journal, and adjust to a 2-minute habit. What else? Another section, which we're going to skip, he talks about different forms of troubleshooting, and he gives solutions for if you're having issues with your habit. Like if you've missed a few days and you're struggling, he states, it's a good idea to take a look at what is going on in your life. Do you have a big work project? A lot of work stress, travel, illness, family crisis, busyness with your family or friends? Are you overwhelmed or stressed out? Any one of these or more factors can cause you to have a low bandwidth for creating new habits. Consider either taking a break from your habit or reducing what else you're doing in your life. You can't find the time. Take a break from the habit, but make it a defined break, 3 days, 7 days. Others aren't supporting me. Accept others as they are. Set an example or just make changes on your own. That's what I do a lot. I just stopped depending on other people. I did that with my books. I was trying to get other artists to be like, let's collaborate and do something with the book. And nobody followed through. So I ended up doing it alone. And I had to ask people, how do you lay this out? How do you do that? I had to find out by myself. And now I don't really ask anybody for anything. If I want to get something done, I either do it myself or I go after the people that I know will get things done. I only have a handful of people in my life that stick to the timelines and deadlines that they have. I can stick to deadlines depending on what it is, but if it's something really big, it really depends. I'll be working actively towards it, but I might not reach that specific deadline, if that makes any sense. Not doing as well as I'd hoped. Oh, this one is good. Often we have a mind movie of how the habit will go, how beautiful it will be in our lives. This can cause disappointment, frustration, and discouragement when things don't go as we'd hope. A good practice is to not attach to the outcome. Have a good intention for the habit, but don't worry too much about how it will turn out, because you can't control that. It's like a plant. You can plant the seeds, water it, nourish it, care for it, but you can't control exactly how it will turn out. As you do the habit, be mindful of your attachment to the outcomes of this habit and see if you can focus instead on the intention, on the effort, or on enjoying the process. This is exactly how I felt when I was teaching myself art. I've been drawing since I was a child, and I recently came across more pictures that I did when I was a little girl, and I wanted so badly to be really good at art like the illustrators that I would look at as a child. And even if my stuff sucked, I just kept practicing and practicing and practicing, and even now I'm still practicing. I want to get to a certain level. I just have to put in the time and the effort and paint again and draw with charcoal again and in oil pastel. But when I first started off, my artwork just looked like, oh, well, this is just kids. Then by the time I was 13, it started looking like something. And now as I get older, I just keep practicing and being more bolder and thinking about making my messages come through my paintings and other art pieces. And pushing the limit, because sometimes you'll get comfortable and you won't go further, or sometimes you'll be frustrated because you're so bad at it in the beginning you don't want to embarrass yourself anymore. But I just say keep going, eventually you're going to get there and you'll be skilled. One day it'll just click, and then you'll be skilled at what you're set out to do. Quitting a bad habit. Track your habits and triggers. When to attempt to quit. Most people make the mistake of trying to tackle a quit too early when they still haven't gotten good at forming habits. I recommend forming new positive habits that we talked about. So after you've had 5 successful new habits under your belt, try quitting a habit. That makes sense because by that time you will have developed the self-discipline that you need to stick to something, and then it'll be easier to quit. What I do right now that I'm practicing is quitting reckless spending. And what I mean by reckless is spending things on useless snacks. I'll eat a useless snack before work because it gives me the energy, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I'm up. I can make it through the morning. And that dollar could have gone towards one of my savings goals. But instead I spent it on a lemon cake and some juice. It's always lemon cake, juice, or chocolate. It's never anything different. Lemon cake, juice, chocolate. Lemon cake, juice, chocolate. Lemon cake, juice, chocolate. So I even put in my financial binder, my money log, every time I buy lemon cake, juice, chocolate. Yeah, no. Don't do it. Gotta guilt trip myself into that. So what I've been doing is I've been focusing on saving more than not doing something. All of my attention is going towards I have to save this amount, and all of my energy and focus is on that I don't have time to think about lemon juice or lemon cake and chocolate. But yeah, I think this book is a nice little read. It gives you step-by-step processes for starting a habit, quitting a habit. I think it's a book that you should keep to use as a reference. I don't think it's a book like, okay, I'm going to read this once and give it away. I don't think this is one of those books. Some books you can read and you're like, okay, I'm done, I give it away. This book is one you should use for reference, even though it's small. Because at some point in your life, you might start a new habit and you need to go back and look over what he's written and see it with new eyes. It'll be like reviewing some scholarly essay or something until it becomes ingrained in you and you're able to continue. But yeah, this is a book I think could be kept for life, different stages in your life, this age, that age, this habit, that habit, transitions in your life. It's a nice little read. So I give it 5 fudge buckets for the first of the year. And I will have more books coming soon because, as I've stated earlier, my habit is to read, be more consistent with uploading videos, being more consistent with reading. And that's what I've been doing. I have been reading like a maniac, and hopefully I can keep this going throughout the year. I won't fall off of this habit in particular. So have a nice day, everybody, and happy reading. Bye-bye.